Hi guys, this is Brittany Powers and we are going to be discussing the topic of equity in schools. President Barack Obama said it best when he said, "We are true to our creed when a little girl born into the bleakest poverty knows that she has the same chance to succeed as anybody else." Let's consider some common definitions of equity and inequity. Equity is the opportunity for all children to receive free, quality preschool, high challenging standards, and engaging teaching and leadership in a safe, supportive, and well-resourced school, and an affordable, high-quality college degree. This means that every student has access to the educational resources and rigor they need at just the right moment in their education, and students' needs are not going unmet due to their race, ethnicity, dominant language, disability, gender, sexual orientation, religion, family background, and/or family income. Inequity is when those variables negatively affect a student's ability to learn and/or receive a quality education that would prepare them for college and workplace success. My definition is that equity means all students are given a fair and equal chance to be successful in school and society through the provision of quality learning and safe environments in which they can interact with loving adults and positive role models. In Blue Valley, we define equity as our aim to advise staff members on all areas of diversity, inclusion, and equity, resulting in thoughtful actions that respond to the needs of all students and staff. The students most negatively impacted by issues of equity include low-income families and those living in deep poverty, Black and Latino students, so anyone who is non-white, students without access to technology or quality resources, students with disabilities, LGBTQ students, ELL students, and immigrant students. In Blue Valley School District, the policy is, our philosophy is reflected in the practice of responsibly including students in educational and social activities to the maximum extent appropriate based on their individual learning needs. So what that basically means is here at this school and in our district, we have a responsibility to provide individual learning to each student to the extent appropriate to help them be successful. Every single one. You may have heard it said, fair does not mean equal. Students at our school are 79% Caucasian, 4% African American, 9% Asian, 1% American Indian, 4% Hispanic, and 7% are multi-race. We know that a large majority of the students here are middle to upper class and live in two-parent households. So a lot of our students come to school with a lot going for them already, but we do have to consider those minority students and do all that we can to make sure that they have a fair chance at being just as successful as those students in the higher income homes with two parents helping them. Next, let's talk about achievement gaps. Research tells us what we know intuitively, that high-quality schools make a dramatic difference in children's lives, helping them to succeed all throughout school, up into college, and in their chosen careers. We also know by research that students who face differing life challenges are faced with, of course, the same academic challenges. But in those challenging situations, academics become harder because of what they're dealing with at home. So it's our job as educators to meet students where they are and bridge that gap. We can't treat each student equally when the students do not face equal circumstances if we are going to create schools where equity is possible. In Blue Valley, we do have the advantage of providing each student with an iPad or a Chromebook, depending on their grade level. Students also have the opportunity to be placed on IEPs if they need them, or placed in a reading or math intervention group. That's all primarily on the teacher to identify those needs and be the advocate for those students, because you as teachers know your students better than anyone. Here are my strategies that I recommend for dealing with equity gaps. Get to know your students and their families. Do this quickly. Teach to the whole child, so provide that emotional, educational, and physical support whenever it's needed. Sometimes kids might come in hungry, and we can't expect them to engage in a reading lesson when, they have an empty stomach and maybe they didn't get a good night's sleep. Sometimes providing equity means taking your kid out into the hall and giving them a granola bar and telling them to come back in 5 minutes. Something else teachers are responsible for is designing individualized learning and lesson plans. Here at the secondary level, it's providing projects where students can really make it their own, providing projects that have a high ceiling but a low floor. Some of the first well-known national initiatives that measured the equity gap and brought this issue to light were No Child Left Behind and the Coleman Report, Equality of Educational Opportunity. These systems measure equity and inequity. They also include and affirm the voices of students, families, and communities. They help us identify and understand our own demographics and what challenges we face, what advantages we have to work with. They help us analyze our own data, our policies and practices with that equity lens, and hopefully we will continue to develop better action plans and policies that incorporate equity into our structure as a district. So teachers, here's how you can help students in your classroom. Number 1, build strong relationships with them and their families. You get to be the expert on their home lives and act as their advocate while at school. Next, allow those students to have a voice and choice within their classroom. Let your classroom be their domain. They may not have another safe space. Next, design differentiated learning opportunities so that each student has a chance to grow and develop at their own pace. Make sure every child feels safe, loved, and supported. Again, you may be their only safe place. Make decisions that are driven by data, so we need to regularly be analyzing data that includes assessment data, perceptions data, and demographic data in our PLC meetings, and let those pieces of information really drive our decisions. Like, what are we doing that's working well? What do we need to alter? Also, we should ensure that each student has a snack and lunch every day. We don't want them worrying about those basic needs while they're at school. And please remember that fair does not mean equal. This visual representation shows the educational equity journey that we are all on. So the first thing we should do, which we did early on in this presentation, is conduct a cultural audit. So just considering who we are. And then collect anonymous feedback. Get some information from our families and our students. How are we doing? And then integrate learning within the systems. Along the way, we need to be providing culturally responsive education where everyone feels at home, everyone feels safe, everyone feels represented. And finally, implement the combination of these important variables. And last, measure. How's it going? What can we change? And the system starts all over again. Technology does have a lot of potential to impact equity and inequity. Here at Blue Valley, we again have that 1-to-1 device to student ratio, so we are fortunate. I encourage you all to use technology to differentiate students at all levels of their differing abilities. Use apps to connect with families. Technology does have the potential to impact inequity by increasing those gaps when students don't have access to technology. We also have to consider that just because a student has a device doesn't mean they know how to use it. We need to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with using their device just the same, so that we're not creating more of a gap within our own classrooms. And we need to teach our students how to properly utilize them and how to be effective with their technology and how to protect their information. Robinson said it well in his TED Talk when he stated, "All students deserve teachers, nurses, role models, and paraprofessionals who look like them and value their gifts no matter their race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, or citizenship status." As an educator, this impacts and shifts how I think about the students under my care. It is easy to forget our mandate of teaching the whole child, but this mandate is a good reminder that it is a necessity. I believe that this is the only way to ensure equity. We must know our students' needs as well as their home situations. If we have these understandings, we will be able to better serve each child according to their needs. The often quoted "fair does not mean equal" holds so much truth. It is our responsibility to make sure each child has what they need to be able to succeed academically and in life. For some students, that means they need classroom modifications. Another student may need breakfast or simply a 10-minute nap. It is our job to know what these students need, and it is our job to do our best each and every day to provide that. I will end our presentation today with one last quote that especially touched my heart, and I hope it touches yours. The fight for educational opportunity is the fight for equity. You can't get to the first without a courageous commitment to the second. But when you actually live those values, the difference you can make in the lives of students is extraordinary. Thanks for learning with me today.